everybody. Welcome to Roll for Beer, the best beer drinking and TTRPG math rock slinging podcast this side of Western Canada. Not exclusively, of course, because we have glorious guests with us tonight. And by guests, I mean singular. Look, I also when I wrote my little spiel and practiced it in a mirror, I was thinking that perhaps Heather was going to be with us, and it stuck in my brain. So Heather's with me in spirit, and I have both of her both real and imaginary spouses here, so it's all good.
It's a full house.
It's true. Hey, I still let's start this stream off right. Now, whoever doesn't know, whenever I have a technical issue, because my camera is old and has technical issues probably once every couple hours, I donate money to charity. Right now, I am donating to the Trans Empowerment Movement, which we have a lovely person. Project.
Yep.
It is a movement, so don't feel bad.
I'm gonna just do the Eye of Doom. Don't mind me.
There it is. That's the adjustment. We got her beat.
You know what? I'll make a little icon for it in chat so people can also type the Eye of Doom.
I love it. Allison is working on throwing us together some emotes for Twitch for 2024 because we're still rocking some ones from previous years. So, and I need something a little more in line with Dr. Ramshackle's old-fashioned juice that makes you explode.
I'm working on it. Part of me just wants to put a bottle and just says James No on the bottle. How about no?
So welcome to Roll for Beer, where we sit, we roll some dice, and we just let the dice decide what we're drinking tonight. But we get to decide the topics and who we're going to drink them with, because the dice don't own that much of my life just yet. It's close, but not quite yet. Jack, thank you for coming on the show. For the guests at home, can you give us a little bit of a spiel on who you are and where you're from and what you love to do?
Sure. Hey everybody, my name is Jack Knoxville. I use he and they pronouns. I'm on the East Coast of the United States. In the South, I'm in North Carolina. I was the first trans guy to run for political office anywhere in the Southern United States, and after that started Trans Empowerment Project, which is the organization you all have been kind enough to be doing some fundraising for. And so, yeah, that's a bit of who I am.
Just to clarify, the what's showing on screen right now is just one of the many programs that the Trans Empowerment Project runs. That's why it says Trans Employment Project in it. That is not a typo. I promise. It's just I've got a small list of everything that you guys are hosting on your site. Have you ever drank beer on a podcast before, Jack?
No.
All right.
But I'm so glad to be doing it now.
And technically speaking, we're looking at beers and ciders because we're an inclusive bunch, and we always make sure that even if the beers aren't going to agree with you, that's okay. We can make do. I would roll for juice box with you if I had to. Life is good.
Well, I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
We can get sparkling juice. We can be fancy. Get some cocktail glasses. Dress you up in a little top hat, a little monocle.
I mean, you said it, not me.
We would do it.
I'd be down.
I want to dress up. Let's have a party.
See? We'll just do a classy, and it'll just be roll for juice, and it'll just be us sipping little glasses of juice. This is a great.
Can I put gin in mine? Is that okay?
No.
I have young children. I think it's required at this point.
You have 2 young children.
There's that.
You could always do the sparkling grape juice stuff.
Oh yes.
Oh, that stuff is so good. I don't care. People are like, "Are you just having sparkling? You're adult now. You can drink alcohol." I'm like, "But it's delicious."
Hey, I'm an adult now. I can drink grape juice whenever I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fermented or otherwise. So let me run you through the format. Essentially, you're going to need your dice, or your die in this case, and a glass of some kind. We're going to roll, and then you tell me what you roll. You'll count it. Are you a lefty or a righty?
I'm ambidextrous.
Oh.
So it kind of depends, but I'm a little bit more right dominant.
All right. So counting from the right going left, like you're reading a manga, count the number of the number that you roll and kind of keep cycling back and forth until you land on a beer. You all
Okay.
ready for this?
Ba-da-da-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
See,
Sorry.
I wasn't going to do it, but here we are. In 3, 2, 1.
Mine jumped out of the glass. I don't know how it did that.
That's okay. I somehow cocked a D4.
I got a 10.
It's just an upside down pyramid at this point. So I'm gonna give it a swirl.
I gotta re-roll it because it fell off the table.
I got a 4.
I got a 6.
All right, let me redo this. Is it gonna jump out? I'm gonna go a little closer this time. I got a 10.
All right. So Jack, counting right to left, what are you drinking tonight in your best transatlantic announcer accent that you can swing?
Ooh, transatlantic. That's a rough one. I'm like, ooh.
Or whatever.
I'm drinking Lopez pink lemonade cider.
I love it. Where's it from, and is there anything interesting about the can?
So this is a can. It's pretty cool.
That's nice and simple. I like it. It's very clean.
I like the texture of it. I'm on the autism spectrum. Love a good texture, you know?
I feel that in my bones.
Oh, yeah. So it's got a nice texture. It's pink lemonade cider, which is really cool. And it's not just pink lemonade, it's lemon, strawberry, and raspberry. So I'm excited because I've never tried this one before. But this is what I'm drinking.
Beautiful. Allison, what about yourself?
I am drinking. I've had them before on the podcast. I haven't had this kind one before. So I'm doing the Flyboats Brewery peanut butter stout.
Oh, yes. You did a chocolate. Was it a coffee stout last time from that?
Not from this one. I did a juice box stout for them last time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which was good. So they're from New Brunswick. And I'm very excited to try it because I like peanut butter.
I love it.
So.
I have.
What are you drinking, James?
I have Collective Arts Jam Up the Mash Dry Hopped Sour at a 5.2%. This is from Hamilton, Ontario for Collective Arts. The artist is Robert John Patterson, and it's really cool. Collective Arts is one of my favorite breweries, just because they pay their artists really well, which is something that doesn't we need more of in this world. And they just make really good beers, and they're not afraid to experiment with stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, I've had Collective Arts beers that never again. The problem was it got in my mouth. But the majority of stuff that I've tried with them has been pretty spectacular. So, and Allison, I'm just going to adjust your camera for a sec. There we go.
Yeah, I was noticing that too. So I was like, help. I don't know. I didn't touch it. I promise. I swear.
That wasn't a you thing. That was your wireless thing. It's all good. That said, when y'all are ready, we generally go for that sweet, sweet ASMR action and crack it into the mic. On 3, 2, 1. Oh. I didn't even spill it on myself or onto my mic this time.
Oh, we're so proud of you.
I'm gonna spill it on myself as soon as I pour it.
Mine's like really foaming up right now.
Yep.
You did better than I did because mine is kind of everywhere. But that's okay.
It's almost a rite of passage at that point. But all right, let's see how much I can avoid getting on my body. Oh, not bad, not bad.
I got
See,
mine all over me. Look how dark mine is.
oh, that's amazing.
Oh,
I need mine to clear up a little bit because it's a dry hop sour, and it's got the bubble. Something
I
fierce.
messed up.
Why?
That was a Dr. Ramsey shot glass.
Oh, a Dr. Ramshackle shot glass?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
ooh.
I'm
I
sorry.
poisoned myself. Oh God.
Remember, kids, with a little ingenuity and being of legal drinking age, you too can poison your friends on the internet with Dr. Ramshackle's
I
old-fashioned juice
forgot
that
I
makes you
used this
explode.
shot glass. It was clean. That's the thing. I washed it. It still has it in there.
Jack's like, what have I gotten myself into? What have I done?
I'm drinking from this now. I'm not trusting that.
And Heather's likely sitting in a different room being like, I can't wait for this. So
Probably.
how's the how's the cider? What's it you said you hadn't tried it before.
Yeah, I haven't. It's good. It's a little dry,
Mhm.
which it's kind of hit or miss for me, but it's got enough sweetness to it that it kind of helps get past the dryness because I'm
Mhm.
not a big fan of dry.
Yeah. I this has a whole bunch of it's almost like biting into a nectarine. So it's got a little bit of tart to it, but it's got a lot of that sweetness behind it. Um Most collective arts sours are based on like stone fruit. Um and yeah, no, I could drink 100 of these hanging out in a hammock while camping. It'd be a good time.
I feel like we did that.
There was that. Yes. Look, I'm a man of simple pleasures. I like hammocks. I like drinking things while in those hammocks, and cooking things around those hammocks. Life is good.
You know what? Just because you brought up the coffee stout that I had last time,
Mhm.
it tastes very much like that,
Yeah,
but the aftertaste is just all peanut butter.
I
It
like
is
it.
delicious. Oh, look, we got someone in the background.
Look, it's your girlfriend.
It's my wife. Hi, wife. Mwah.
Love it. So, um, the beers are important, but they're really they're a vessel to get us where we're going. And for everybody in the know, and if you're cool like that, you know that for the past just over a month, um, we've been. Oh, also, we got a hydrate redeemed from chat, so everybody take a drink.
It's from Moon.
It is from Moon. We've been working with a bunch of other stellar creators over the past month or so, and trying to fundraise for Trans Empowerment Project. And we're using our usual vessel of TTRPG content. Um, for the folks that might be tuning into this later that may not know, myself and Allison and everybody else at Logomancy, we are home to Make a Wish International's TTRPG arm. We help run and organize all of their event fundraising all over the world. So this was nothing new for us. And when we heard what was going on, it seemed like a no-brainer to come in and help. So far, we've raised just over $1,700 in the past couple of weeks, and we've drank some horrendously spicy things on the internet to be able to accomplish that.
From one psychopath. And he's gonna make it spicier next year. I guarantee it.
Look, I'm just waiting for Smoke and Ed Curry to make spicier peppers that I can get my hands on, because I can't access Pepper X yet. I can't get seeds to grow it. So, I'm stuck with just Carolina Reaper peppers and then some slightly less spicy variants underneath that, you know. But yeah, we jumped on this. I make no bones about making sure that we have an inclusive house, and we've made sure that over the years, Logomancy is a representative is representative of the world that I'd like to see, across all facets. The Because the majority of our player pool comes from west, like, southern Alberta here. We have a sizably higher queer and trans community. Like, one of my business partners, David, he's like, I'm never to like joke about tokenism, but he's like, I'm the token straight guy in the group because everybody else is just spicy and colorful.
Nice.
Which it's a good thing to see. Um, I I've been out for over 25 years, and it hasn't always been that way, and it's a good place to be. But we're always growing, and we're always meeting new amazing folks, and uh, I need more rooms in my house, we'll say. So
Yeah.
that said, Jack, I'm really, really interested in touching on a couple of things with you tonight.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how Trans Empowerment Project got started.
You stole
And
my question.
oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna ask that. I'm actually very excited to hear the backstory on how it all started.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, next to my story about my lovely wife, this is my next favorite story to tell. Uh, so yeah, I spent my whole life basically homeless and living out of my backpack.
Mhm.
Um, I grew up in the South. I'm originally from New York, but grew up in South Carolina with just not the best living conditions, and spent a good bit of my life trying to figure out who I was, where I belonged, all the things that folks struggle with. Um, and when I was like, I don't know, when I was in my early 20s, I did a lot of like activism and stuff. I was out as, being bisexual because language was definitely has evolved quite a bit since those days where the only options were gay, straight, bi. That was it for a
In
long time.
in the same vein, I went as bisexual for many, many, many years, and then in almost a well in almost a an aha moment of autism getting the better of me. It's like, wait a second, there are a lot more butts that I like that don't necessarily fall in that category. I guess pan is kind of the appropriate modern term for all of the things that I love and the people that I love. So yeah.
Exactly.
It was the same for me too. Just recently, I've actually come out fully, as demisexual, and at first I didn't have a name to it, and it just bothered the hell out of me. I'm like, I don't know what it is. And they're like, oh, you're bisexual. Like people would label me automatically as bi, and then I found out recently that oh no, I'm not that. So I love how there's new openings and everything that I can
Absolutely.
decide.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it took me until I was a little bit older in life before I realized, who I was in terms of my trans identity. And even through exploring that, I came to learn about intersex conditions that I didn't realize, that I had this intersex thing happening. As a lot of folks don't. There's so little realization because of how little it's discussed and talked
Yeah.
about. So, in my journey to trying to figure out who in the hell I was, I found myself at 33 being like, very committed to the fact that I knew I needed to transition. That's who I was and who I am. And, I was just at that point where it was time. It was time to acknowledge and it was time to move forward with my transition. And for the first time in my life, I found myself working at a job that actually afforded me health insurance. So I was really excited, because now I could actually have access to this whole transition thing, this newfangled thing these kids are talking about. So, at that point, I was. I actually was originally living in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I basically spent a summer of just trying to figure it out. period.
Mhm.
And so I crashed on a lot of couches and bounced around from South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and landed in Tennessee, found a job, like I said, that gave me health insurance, started navigating what it meant to transition, and got fired from my job for transitioning.
That's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, I got set up by my boss to make it look like I didn't know how to do my
That
job, but I literally had screenshots of everything, and HR's response was, "Oh, well, we'll just get you a pen so you can write your letter of resignation." I was like, "Oh, cool, 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 thanks." So yeah, it oh yeah, Tennessee is a right to work state, and so that means, you know, they have a right to do whatever the hell they want to.
That
That's
that
basically what that means.
that sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen, but I imagine that's what right to work states prevent.
Yes, basically. And even in cases like that, unfortunately, my employer was a very large retailer that had a ton of money.
Mhm.
And I talked to attorneys, and they're basically what they said was, look, this company is going to keep you tied up for years because they can. They can
Mhm.
drag this thing on as long as they want to.
Yeah.
So if they're going to offer you a severance package, take it. And I was
Yeah.
like, all right, cool. So that's what I did. And I had like 2 weeks left before my insurance ran out. So I called every provider I could find in East Tennessee to see if I could just get in with a doctor to get started on HRT.
Mhm.
And the things now, I'm not from that area, so I wasn't really up to speed on the laws and all that other stuff. But in trying to navigate that, what I found out was, first of all, I was in a very bigoted area, which I knew already, but it was confirmed every time I'd call a medical provider. And, I'd call and I'd say, like, hey, I wanted to see if, if you're taking new patients. They're like, sure, what do you need to be seen for? And I'm like, well, I'm a trans guy. They'd be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, sweetheart. You know what? We're actually not taking new patients right now." And I'm like, "Cool. Well, thank you so much for telling me up front you're a bigot before I spend my money with you."
Yep.
And I was so pissed though. Because it was call after call.
Yeah.
And this is just the mindset in Tennessee, especially at this time. Now,
Mhm.
mind you, at this time, this is like 2014, 2015. Tennessee had a don't say gay bill in place.
Yeah.
And so it was a very bigoted area. And I knew that already, but I didn't realize just how bad it was.
Mhm.
So in trying to navigate that, like I said, I couldn't find anybody in all of East Tennessee that would see me. So I went online and scrambled. I was trying to find somebody anywhere, and I found a Planned Parenthood in Asheville, North Carolina. Their website was really cool. It was like just super inclusive and super welcoming, and said, like, if you're in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, and you need to be seen, like, we'll see you. And I was like, sold.
That's good.
Yeah, it was a 110-mile drive across a mountain, and I
Yep.
didn't have a job anymore, and it was $165 out of pocket, and again, I didn't have a job anymore. So, you could have told me that this office visit was in Argentina and the price tag was $10,000 out of pocket, it would have felt the same
Yeah.
because, it was so inaccessible. And luckily, I'm a hustler. I did all the hustle culture, Uber, Grubhub, Lyft, all
Mhm.
the things, and I hustled and I made whatever cash I could, and I got an appointment with Planned Parenthood. Now, what I also learned in that part of my journey was that in Tennessee, they had arbitrary laws in place to make sure that trans people could not access hormone therapy. So one of the things that they had in place was that you had to go through a full year of mental health counseling, and then you had to get a letter signed by your doctor saying that you could then get on HRT.
Mhm.
So in theory, especially to people who are not trained and not don't understand what that is, it sounds like, oh, we want to protect the kids because that's how it's spun. But what it is instead is a gatekeeping manipulative document or bill that's put into place to keep people from having access to the healthcare they need.
In in Alberta, to give you a chance to also drink your beer a little bit too. We're running into the same sort of rhetoric, and a good example. Well, it's not good, but it's an accurate example. Is there's a push to prevent puberty blockers
Yep.
from being leveraged for anybody under 18. because you need to be an adult to make an informed decision on that. And it's like, motherfucker, do you understand the words that are coming out of your mouth as you're saying this? And it's like, it's all just like smoke and mirrors driven by horrible agendas at this
Oh
point,
yeah,
where we live too.
and it's being manipulated by the same group of people
Yep.
everywhere globally. I
Yep.
mean, it really is at the end of the day. Yeah, that's a whole ass other thing. But
That's beers and whiskey.
yes,
that
yes.
Whiskey, you mean tequila?
No, I mean that's us sitting and drinking Dr. Ramshackle's old fashioned juice.
No,
that
that's
makes you
called
explode.
going to the hospital. We get free health care. He does not.
There's that.
This is true. This is so true. So I finally, like I said, with the whole thing with the that mental health thing, what I was hearing from others in the community was that they were going through their year of therapy only to have their therapist look at them and say, I'm not giving you this letter, right? So then after they had just bared their souls to this human being for an entire year, now they got to start all over with somebody else. That's the biggest load of shit. And so when I saw the Planned Parenthood thing, I was like, cool. So by me crossing that border, now I don't have the same bullshit obstacles in place.
Yep.
And the other thing is that those excuses don't land well when you're talking to somebody who is 33 at the time. Like I was 33 years old, very well beyond my first puberty, definitely old enough to make that kind of decision for myself. So try again with that rhetoric.
Yeah.
And see, this is why I get myself into good trouble, because I just can't. It doesn't, that's the autistic part of my brain too. It's like, it doesn't make logical sense. So why the fuck are we acting like this?
Exactly.
So,
I feel that in my bones, 100%.
Yeah. So like I said, I got in with Planned Parenthood. I mean, immediately had HRT, like basically as soon as I got in with them, which was great. And so a couple weeks later, like I said, I mean, I had lost my job. So I was doing all of the things, literally Uber, Grubhub, and Lyft at the same time. Plus I was doing graphic design and building websites for people and slinging my artwork and working for a marketing company, like anything I could do to make some cash.
Yep.
And I happened to be working on a graphic design project, and I saw that actually, before we get there, so the marriage equality passed in the United States, and when that happened, one of the couples who sued for the right to marry was living in Knoxville, where I was at. And so they decided to have a big rally to celebrate the passing of marriage equality. So of course, me not being from the area and not having had support, I'm like, yes, bring the queers together. Now I can go be with my people, you know? So I turned the corner into this amazing rally. There's like 4,000 people at the World's Fair Park. Beautiful. Super excited. And I listened to our mayor at the time get up on stage. She talked the best game about, allyship and showing up for the LGBTQIA community and all the things. And I'm like, that's who I need to talk to. Maybe if she understands the bullshit that's happening in this town, she and I can work together. We can, make a difference.
Yeah.
So she gets off stage and she's doing her little meet and greet, shaking hands, talking to people. And I went up to her and I said, hey, look, I know you're really busy right now, but I would love to talk to you sometime about trans rights. All I wanted from this lady was a business card. Instead, I got blown off. So she looks at this crowd, literally, a crowd of 4,000 predominantly white people, and says, yeah, you can talk to my assistant, Matt. And I kind of looked over and I couldn't even help it. I just kind of laughed at her. I was like, pfft. I said, yeah, let me get right on top of that. I said, hey, by the way, my name is Jack Knoxville. You ever heard of me? She said, no. I said, well, you will. And I smiled, the biggest smile, and I was seething inside. And I had no idea what the hell that meant. But I knew that the gauntlet was down, it was game on, and I was coming for her ass. I was so mad because it was such performative crap that she was up there 20 minutes prior with the mouth breathing. I'm like, no. So a few weeks later, I was working on a graphic design project for somebody, and I happened to see this little local like music and culture magazine that was around the area ran this article. It was like 3:30 in the afternoon on a Friday, and they said Madeline Rojero is running unopposed, and I said, "The hell she is." Yeah, I shut my laptop. I got up, I grabbed the keys to my car, got in the car, drove straight to the election commission, got a petition, and got the 25 signatures I needed to become a write-in candidate. And
Nice.
unbeknownst to me at the time, I did. I became the first trans guy to ever run for political office anywhere in the entire southern United States.
It's amazing.
Thanks. And I'll tell you, when I ran, it was very eye opening in a lot of ways. Like I said, I mean, I grew up homeless and living out of my backpack. I'm very well aware of the issues that are going on, especially in the U.S.
Mhm.
So I felt pretty qualified there. But in getting to get out and talk to other people in the community and connecting with other trans people and just hearing more and more about the shared narrative of like dysphoria, depression, and isolation, I was like, look, I'm pretty bad. I don't know about y'all, but I'm pretty badass. And I really don't need a bunch of cis people to validate me. And like, neither do y'all. Like, we can empower each other. And that's where Trans Empowerment Project came from, was just this idea that like, regardless of whether we're allowed to say gay or whether we're
As Allison's rainbow appears, just like on cue, it's a good time.
Yep.
You know what? The camera decided like it needed to show some oh,
I
precipitation.
got to redo the firmware on that one of these days. It'll be a good
Please,
time.
you know how much money I'm donating?
It'll be a good time. It all helps. Oh, there was an earshot this time. There it is. Love it. All these are all the things that don't make it onto Spotify that you only catch by tuning in live.
I do apologize, my Spotify people.
It's
You
all
do
good.
not
that
see
should
the
just
eye
be a
of
drinking
doom.
game in itself. When it
Oh,
happens,
I think we'd be
It's
in
not-
trouble.
It's not a drinking game. I mean,
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that.
So, um, so that's the origin of how you founded Trans Empowerment Project.
Yeah, that's basically like how the concept came about. But
Mhm.
the first thing I did was I actually organized a clothing swap because I also needed clothing, gender affirming clothing. I had a bunch of friends that needed gender affirming clothing. I was connecting with more and more people and hearing that that was a huge need for the community. And also, I know that clothing is one of those things that's like it's one of the most abundant resources that we have. Because if you think about it, like everybody's got clothing that they want to get rid of.
Yep.
Even when I was homeless, I carried around a shirt that I would have loved to get rid of. I would have traded it in a heartbeat. So for me, there was always this abundance of clothing. Why not start with that? So, and I also didn't want the first thing this organization did to be rooted in work and labor.
Mhm.
So I actually went to my cis friends and asked them for clothes. I'm like, look, I got a bunch of trans people who need clothes. Give me what you got.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to get a really great response from my friends who went to their friends who went to their friends. And before long, I mean, within like 3 weeks, I had rounded up enough clothing that we made sure that at least 100 trans and non-binary folks got clothing that day. And it was also one of the first times that Knoxville ever had like a trans inclusive event that was like that many people coming from. And I mean, they were coming from like multiple counties over coming in for this clothing swap. It was pretty awesome. So when that happened, I really just, it was so inspiring to be in that moment and be surrounded by so many people and feel so much joy and so much connectivity and not want to grow this and turn it into something more sustainable. And that's really how TEP came to be the organization that we are now.
It's kind of interesting because so we do a fair bit of charity work, just like volunteering, and we work with a group here locally called the Calgary Dream Center. So we go in, and it's primarily for it's split up by gender, but it's in this case it's for men who are either recovering or working their way through addictions, but it always comes down to clothing donations. And we've done things like winter coats. Guess what? Everybody needs winter coats. and they need them in a bunch of sizes. And if you've got 6 months worth of foresight and a little bit of a budget, we can make that happen.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that the way the Trans Empowerment Project started is with something that is so rooted in charity for everyone, because every person under the sun has done, your Sally Ann donations, so to speak. I mean, organizations aside and systemic problems aside, or goodwill or things like that, where uh, it's rooted to the point of you're starting off in a place where everyone acknowledges that they are people on both sides, and that's not necessarily something that queer folks or trans folks or anybody else in between has necessarily been afforded
Yeah.
in history,
Yeah.
and it's humble beginnings, we'll say.
Everything that we do in this organization is not just for trans people. It's to
Mhm.
center the lives of disabled, two-spirit, trans, intersex, gender
Mhm.
expansive community members, especially those of us who are BIPOC.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're trying to build the equitable future that we all want.
Yeah.
And it's the only way that we're going to get to a place where everybody truly does have the opportunity to thrive and do well.
Mhm.
And so by bringing in equity, we actually make it so that more people get to win,
Yeah.
and like, especially coming from like the gaming community,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I find it interesting because, the other day I was on a Reddit for Catan. I love that game so
Me
much.
too.
Heather and
Oh,
I-
it's such a good game.
we play it all the time in this house, like
Do-
obsessively.
Do you have a home board, like a one of those wood carved Catan boards?
No, I wish.
Oh, my,
That's
my
awesome.
my partner got me one of those for my birthday a couple of years ago, and it's just a chunk of wood with little places to put your roads and your hexes and stuff, and it's
See, my
Awesome.
my brother, who lives in Ottawa, had a Catan wedding cake because
that's dope.
they had a board game wedding because they met at a board game cafe and everything. So
I
that's
love
pretty much
that.
it. So they had a Catan birthday like wedding cake, and then someone actually carved out like a Catan board for them.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so Catan. Sorry, I got distracted. I
Yeah,
heard Catan.
no,
I'm
no.
like,
When
what?
when we jump off after, I'll send you a link. I think I've still got it somewhere for the folks that do all the boards.
Oh, that's awesome.
They might be down in the States actually. So
Okay,
yeah,
cool. Yeah, we do. We
worthwhile.
play it all the time. But so I was in the Reddit for it the other day, and I saw where somebody was like, oh, my wife is mad at me right now because we were playing and I wouldn't trade her this wheat that she wanted, and instead I traded it with the AI character, and the AI character won. And they're like, was I wrong for that? And I'm like, here's the thing. Why the hell are you being so competitive with your partner versus some AI who does not care about your life and existence? And like, it made me think of the way Heather and I play. We're
Mhm.
very much like, we will help each other out, even though we're competing. We will help each other out until we get to about 8 points in, and then after that is you're on your own.
I
But at the same time, like, we're not going to intentionally screw each other over, because it just makes the game more fun. It's not fun when you're getting bullied into the corner. It's like, it reminds me of the days when I used to play Mortal Kombat and get
Yeah.
trapped in the corner by somebody.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, where you're just
You
like,
know-
can I get up? Just like let me up for
Yeah.
1 second.
Exactly.
I'm getting game night flashbacks though, because that's exactly what my wife does. She's like, we're playing Catan. There is only one rule, and that's that James needs to lose. She's adopted this idea that I always win when we play board games, even though that is statistically not the case. But she's like, no, I'm not going to make optimal moves for me to win. I'm going to make optimal moves to like make sure that you don't win. And I'm like, why the hate? What have I done to you recently? Like,
Hey,
what the hell?
James, that's when we play Magic too. I don't care if I win. I just gotta make sure you don't.
Poor James.
I'm
loves
just
it.
taking it from all sides. I'm just
Sounds like it.
it into the abuse. But
But yeah, I mean, there are more ways to play the game than
Mhm.
just to dogpile on each other and make sure that like nobody gets to have a good time. Like, who wants to keep playing that game of Mortal Kombat, like I was saying, or who wants to keep knowing that like it's just stacked against you, and no matter what you do, you're never gonna have your shot.
Well, and especially when the people that are pitting you against one another are the ones that are like, they're the bank. They're the banker in
Uh,
Monopoly, and they're like, hey, what about, don't worry about how much money I have. Worry
Yeah,
about how much money that guy just got for like pass and go. Like,
yeah.
like what's he on about? Like, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So for me, that's really what it's about, is like trying to find a way that more of us get to play the games, more of us get to have that joy, more of us get to have the rest.
Mhm.
And like a lot of times I talk about white supremacy, I talk about the fact that like the more privilege you've had, the less time that you've been awake, that means you're rested enough that you can do some of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
The rest of the community, we're gonna go over here, we're gonna play some games. We're gonna chill out. We're gonna get that rest that we deserve.
W- one of the founding tenets that we had for Logomancy, because we got started running some TTRPG stuff for Make a Wish, and there was a an outreach of like hundreds of folks on social media after being like, where can I buy this thing that you made, like this adventure that you ran folks through for 12 hours straight with 12 different players. And I'm like, oh shit, this was just like 80s tropes and fart jokes, like kind of out of luck there. But it got us thinking like, all right, well, maybe this is a thing that we can do. And one of the founding tenets is my job is to include, not intrude. Like, I can't control everybody else in the world, and nor would I want to. Like, that's not my jam.
Yeah.
But as I meet cool people, and as we've been going through all of our fundraising efforts, I've met a lot of really cool people that I'm really looking forward to doing other fundraising stuff for in the future, or just like sitting and playing some games, or having a beer with, or just folks that I never would have met otherwise without taking the opportunity to try and help out. And it's reflective of the kind of life that I want to live, and the kind of person that I want my two little girls to remember me as when everything hits dust. Um,
oh,
it
look at
it
the wholesome
it's
content.
one of those things, but
It's so cute.
it's it's a it's a it's a strange feeling overall, and I'd love to hear your take on it. Um, so I make no bones. I am a cis white guy, queer but still a cis white guy. And I understand that there are a lot of places that um I'm not welcome in because of the color of my skin too. And that's not a like a, a woe is me kind of shenanigans or anything like that. It is a position of privilege that I have benefited from my whole life, whether I can see it or not. And it's it's a hard thing to come to terms with when it's like, hey, there's an opportunity, but you're not X, Y, or Z, therefore you need not apply. And it's the smallest taste of what so many people experience all over the world because of the color of their skin.
Yeah.
But again, I'm afforded a lot of that privilege that it, it certainly cushions the blow. Like, let's be fair and real about that 100%. So when I say like my job's to include, not intrude, I I'm always going to welcome folks into my own house, but I understand that there are always going to be spaces out there that if folks say I want a thing just for us, eh, cool. That's amazing, because I've done that for myself too.
Yeah.
Like we all want to build our own communities, or focus on our own communities with the perspectives that we might have that others don't. And and that's really important, because that's how I feel that we get to an like a truly equitable space, is every area that's focused with folks that have their own um experiences. We all grow together, and then we come together,
Yes.
because otherwise, louder voices drown out quieter voices, and that's a big part of the problem that got us into all of this mess.
Yeah.
in the past 200 years plus. Let's
Yeah. that there's still not the understanding that just because you have the loudest voice in the room doesn't mean you have the right voice.
uh-huh.
Just, you know. But yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. I think for me too, like a big part of my focus is how do we help the community learn better self-care practices? How do we
Mhm.
help make sure that this community is moving out of crisis mode?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, like, these obstacles and barriers exist, and we're not solving white supremacy today. It's going
Yeah.
to be around for a very long time, unfortunately. But that's the thing about cultural change versus structural change. And so for me, I focus on the cultural change.
Mhm.
Like, I know when I first started out, I had a lot of people that were actually really mad that I wasn't organizing more rallies and petitions and stuff like that. But like, that work is so draining.
Yep.
And on top of it, it's a great way to put a target on our backs. And
It
I
can also
yeah,
be really hit or miss too. Like
yes.
again, I've done a lot of activism work, and sometimes the stuff that you kill yourself for both mentally and physically has the quietest whisper.
Yeah.
But something that is an afterthought, a tweet, a the kindest of gestures echoes,
That's
right?
exactly right. It's the
Yeah.
kindness. And I don't know, I'm not sure how things are in Canada, especially with organizations and how they do their marketing and outreach and stuff. But in the United States, they are addicted to the doom and gloom messaging
Yep.
because, they know that it brings out results. I mean, televangelists taught us that in the 80s, tell
Hmm.
us that the world is crashing, everybody will give you the last dollar, hoping for that ride to safety. But at the end of the day, it's that addiction to doom and gloom that keeps us stuck in this mindset of like, oh my God, the world hates me. And we get enough of that from the internet. We don't need that from organizations that we're supporting. So
Hmm.
very early on, we made a commitment. We won't engage in that type of messaging. It's just
Yeah.
not our style. We want to focus on joy. Because the other thing for me is if we continue to engage with that, like, oh, I got to go send everybody out to go fight with Chad and Karen at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
If I do that, we're going to stay stuck in this problematic past. I don't have time for that. We're building the future, that
Mhm.
equitable future that we all deserve and we all need. That's
Yeah.
what we're working on right now. Even this podcast right here, this is part of that future of how do we create more equitable spaces? How do we have more conversations that are really touching at the heart of the things that we need to talk about, but
Hmm.
don't feel so overwhelming and intimidating that you're like, oh, I got to turn this off.
Yeah.
Like this is part of that future. And so, for me, I also went through 2020 and all of the hate and all of the everything and was like, look, I'll be honest with you. I broke up with white supremacy live on Instagram
Yep.
after dropping a hit of acid. It was really awesome.
I love it.
Very pathetic.
You're just like, wait, what I do?
Now I
Oh
So you're
understand.
no,
like, I don't
I
regret anything.
I
I
understand the
didn't
ceiling lights
regret every
now.
moment of it.
I understand the ceiling lights now. I
The
get
ceiling
it.
lights are actually really cool, and sometimes
That's
I'll just
dope.
stare at them, and I'm
That
just
is dope.
like, my ADHD is just very happy.
It's it's
Thank
it's interesting. So uh the outrage media that we're
Yeah,
constantly bombarded with, whether it's the internet or whether it's mainstream or whether it's
yeah.
sometimes whether it's just perceived. So I do analytics and business analytics and statistical analytics as a day job. And one of the things it's kind of an interesting tidbit, and that could be a catchphrase for me at this point, is uh, when we're talking about different wealth, like wealth disparity, and
Mhm.
we're talking about it generationally. You look at folks like I'm a millennial and younger, folks not being able to afford a house, or folks not being able to put away for retirement, or folks having negative health outcomes because healthcare where they live isn't doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah,
I mean, it's doing what it's designed to do, which is keep people poor and make people money, but it's not designed to, or it's not helping people.
yeah,
But uh, it's all exacerbated by the idea of you think you're poorer than you are because you've been trained and taught through media and through organizations that you're lesser than you are,
yes.
and it makes it hard sometimes to be like, we were talking about this before. There's a song called "Livin' the Dream" by Drake White, and again, don't at me for liking some country music, Allison. But it's
You
like
know what? Some country magic. Wow, music. Well,
music.
country music can be magic. Is good. However, some newer days, it's just a lot about
Oh, it's bro country for certain. We could go on that
a
forever,
truck,
but it's
a
it's
wife,
the idea
a farm,
of
and a dog.
it's the idea of like
Yeah.
we've got an old fence and we got an old house, but we got each other, and we got the songs that we like and the people that we care about, and it ain't much, but it's ours. And I've always really appreciated that sentiment because th- for most folks, that's all they're looking for is something
Yeah.
that's ours, and it's not an unattainable dream. But when you're bombarded with the idea of like, no, you'll never get this, you'll never get that. Look at all of these people over here that are all fighting and working against you. It's really important to have the kind of messages that you're pushing for. Here's an example of how we're all working together. Here's an example of given some. It's not a handout. It's a hand up,
Yeah.
right? And that's what we should all strive to do. Is just we're all just looking to stand together. You know.
Yeah. It was really amazing for me because the first year that I was in Knoxville and I
Mhm.
went to Pride, I maybe saw 3 or 4 trans pride flags, and they were all on one table. There was so little representation of this community, and then now that was in, probably 2012, the first
Hmm.
Pride I went to there, and Heather and I moved away in 2021. So we went back last year to go see Lizzo. And Lizzo played at this really great venue. It's Thompson Bowling Arena, which is on the property of the uh, University of Tennessee campus.
Mhm.
So anyway, we go into this stadium. There's thousands of people in there, and Lizzo starts talking about the need for visibility and representation, and brings out all of these drag performers and trans people on stage, and the crowd was crazy. Everybody, it was so lit up with people with their flashlights on their cell phones, and I saw so much love and support while simultaneously scrolling through my phone reading about how there was no support for trans people in Tennessee and it
Yeah.
was the most vile place. And I'm like, this is the difference between what we're being force fed and what the reality is.
Yeah.
And for me, that it made me, it was reconfirming for me, or yeah, revalidated for me the need to let people understand that, like, despite what you're hearing, despite the doom scroll, like, there is so much more love and support for this community now than there ever has
Yeah.
been. And so we have to remember that part,
Mhm.
and like when we start thinking about the fact that, like, especially I mean, I live in North Carolina. Everywhere you go, there's Trump whatever, and all
Yeah.
the reject Democrat socialism and whatever nonsense they can conjure up in their heads.
Yep.
So for me, when I'm in places like this, it's very easy to forget or to not realize that there is a ton of support out there. But that's one thing that I really love about this community, the gaming community, and what you all are doing and the Pride Revolution stuff, because there is a constant reminder. And even when things suck out there,
Mhm.
I can come here and I can find some dope ass folks who are having a great time that are going to make me feel welcome. And so that for me is where TEP is going next.
Yeah.
And so we haven't really announced this publicly yet, but I will tell y'all we are going to be launching a gaming league.
I love it.
And we want to encourage people all over the place to host their own game nights. And so I've got a whole infrastructure that I've been building out, and we're going to be launching this program because that is so much better than sending people to go rally out there and deal with redneck bigots. And yeah,
Yeah.
no, let's all just play some games on the internet and hang out and be friends.
I love that.
You can't
That's
see
such
it.
a good.
You can't see it cropped with the overlays, but there's a trans pride flag just hanging above me, just right by our Canadian flag up here.
Nice.
It's a
It,
good time.
I love that idea because you're not just building like you're sending out a great message because you're like, oh, let's not rally, let's not do that, let's ignore them and do our own shit and have fun while doing it. But you're also making beautiful memories for other people that they'll pass on, tell their friends about, and join in.
And
Why are you laughing, James?
I'm going to ruin your sentiment because I can't help but quote Bender here. And it's like, and we'll have our own equitable society with blackjack and hooker. No.
All right, James.
Yeah.
Corner. Go to your corner. Go to your corner. We have a corner of shame for James.
It's interesting because the gaming community has this massive. It's kind of a sample size, the TTRPG community of exactly what we're talking about here, because you've got these staunch, I'm gonna call them old men yelling at clouds, in the politest way possible, and versus like it's kind of a 50-50 split of old, what did they call, what's the term, grognards, is what they'd be called, and just cool folks telling stories. And you've seen that in game design where it used to be super crunchy mathematics, and if you weren't like smart enough to do it, you didn't belong here. Or if you didn't have like the interest in the kind of lore that it was all based on, you didn't belong here. Versus the last 10 plus years that it's been, no, this is for everybody. What stories are you telling? Where is your inspiration coming from? That stuff's really dope. Oh, you're of a Polynesian descent, and that's a bunch of like mythology from your culture. That's really dope. Where can I learn more about that? And we're all the better for it. And it's
Yes.
not from a point of appropriation, it's from a point of appreciation, right? And
Yeah.
making sure that it we talk about this with school here. Um, I grew up in a really small town, and like 24 kids in my grad class kind of thing. And uh, unless somebody could tan, the majority of folks kind of looked like me. And for my children, my 5-year-old would look at a kindergarten class that had, everybody looking all the same, and feel that something's wrong with that. And it's not an ingrained, like a taught thing. It's just an experience thing where it's like something feels missing, but I'm a child and I can't verbalize it. And it's important to make sure that all of our communities are the strongest that they can be, and we're the strongest when we're more diverse.
Exactly.
As much as that sounds like a weird platitude and something you'd put on a bumper sticker, it's fucking true.
Yeah.
It is extremely true. Like even going back, like I grew up mostly in Alberta, and let's be honest, Alberta is the Texas of Canada.
I mean,
Okay.
there's that, or the
It,
Texas and Florida.
yeah.
Ooh,
So
okay.
there's not a lot there. There's more diversity now, but growing up in Alberta, there wasn't that much diversity. But I decided when I was done school to go to Toronto. Now that's where I learned a lot more about diversity and everything, and it is so much better. So
Yeah,
when I came back here, I noticed that more diversity was coming to Alberta, which
yeah.
makes me so happy. So I completely get like the diversity, and even now a lot more trans empowerment movements are going around and everything, which I think is fantastic.
Mhm.
I have a bunch of friends who didn't get the help that they needed when they were younger, and now they can get the help that they need now, good mental support group and everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So doing this charity, I was extremely happy to like when we said we're gonna do this. I'm like, yes,
Well,
sign me up.
we run our own uh, different workshops and outreach programs and things like that here locally. I run the largest Dungeons and Dragons group in the city, so we
Cool.
got thousands of folks that come in, and people show up with their kids, and we run a program called Be Who You Want to Be, and it's an opportunity for young kids that are experimenting with gender, or just wanting to get into role play, because frankly it's an excellent tool to help us all figure out just how like queer we are. Like
Yeah.
it worked for me, it works for a lot of folks.
It
um
worked for me.
but
Hello.
where they can be in a space where they're around folks that aren't going to give them any crap for trying something or being experimenting in role play
Yep.
and figuring stuff out for themselves. Um, because for a lot of folks, it's like, well, these communities don't exist. Um, One of a previous guests that we had, her name's Vicky. She helped establish the Role Playing Games Alliance here
Cool.
in Calgary, and it essentially started as like a gay straight alliance, but its roots were there aren't really a lot of spaces for a bunch of like, and I think I'm going to quote her directly here, for a bunch of like butch lesbians to sit and play D&D. So we'll make our own place and we'll have our own space and it'll be great. And they grew that into the Role Playing Game Alliance convention. So every year we all sit down, we play, we raise money, and it is a hoot and a holler of a time. And it wouldn't have come to be if, again, alluding back to that, if they hadn't taken the time to start their own space,
Yep.
because there was a gap for it. But I want to make sure that, as time goes on, as we become prominent representatives of our community, that I don't want anybody to ever show up and be like, this there's no place here for me.
Yeah.
Because there is. It might not always look like it, because everybody's exhausted all the time and constantly being buffeted by our mainstream media. And everybody's all got a life, and we've all got our own stuff going on.
Yep.
And it's hard to ask for help, but help is always here. And you don't always know that it's safe to ask for help. So
Yeah.
that's the kind of community that we look to foster, is like, this is a place that you can grow, and this is a place that you can experiment in without. Oh, and here's Allison again. We're it'll be okay. Where everybody can have a voice, and regardless of the color of your skin, and regardless of your orientation, and regardless of your gender, and we're all big strapping folks that can lay down some law if anybody tries to step into our house spouting that sort of stuff, because
Exactly.
we're all hockey players. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Welcome
Not
to
in our
Canada.
house. Welcome to Canada. He has the puck. He has the what?
Nice. That's awesome. That's that's really what I'm trying to bring into like the gaming league stuff that I've got set up, is
Mhm.
not where we're controlling what games people are playing or anything like that, but just setting up that system so that there are more folks around their local areas who say, you know what, I want to be a host of game nights.
Mhm.
And like, cool, now we can bring in those teams that want to come in and sit at the tables, and now y'all can hold those games in person. But for the people who don't have that local community, they can also jump online and
Yeah.
find some community. And then to what you were saying, with the other group, there is like having those like conferences, or having things, tournaments, whatever, set up so that folks can interact more across the globe with each other.
Mhm.
Because for me too, I mean, when I was growing up, we didn't have words like transgender. That didn't exist,
Yep.
not in our language. And so I really look to all of the Riot Girl music. Y'all were talking about music earlier. I look to all of the punk rock scene and all the Riot Girls and stuff, because they were the ones that were really like, oh, you think you have gender stereotypes figured out? Ha ha, figure us out.
Let me
And
make you aroused and confused.
And a little bit scared.
Yeah.
all the
No.
best things.
I already said aroused. No.
Wait, is that just me?
Well, now I'm gonna drink to that.
There it is. I wanted to touch on something, because I'm
Yeah.
taking a look at our time frames. So we've started now, and I feel we'll continue to going forward, try and raise money for a lot of the programs that TEP's hosting and forecasting for and trying to put together. Gaming being one. But you've got things like the Trans Employment Project.
Yeah.
You've got. Can you talk a little bit about like Um, we on screen we've got $1,726 have been raised through our team for this so far.
Awesome.
What does that go to? Like boots on the ground
Yeah.
and things making it to people's homes. What does that
Yeah.
look like?
So June 26th of last year, for the
Mhm.
first time during 2023, we decided to publicly share our assistance application.
Hmm.
Within maybe 2 days, we had over 200 requests roll in our door.
Yeah.
Within by the end of the year, we had 676 people reach out for direct aid. That's everything from food, clothing, shelter, job assistance through Trans Employment Project. Um, and that was really just our assistance application. On
Mhm.
top of that, we have an inmate advocacy project where we provide services and aid to folks who are incarcerated or when they're getting released. And we have an international program called TEP Africa, where we're trying to help some folks who are actually in Africa and coming out of the situations in Uganda with the Anti-Homosexuality Act there. I
Mhm.
mean, things are very vile. So all of the donations and things that we're getting are going to help us so that we can continue to make sure that those folks who requested aid are getting the aid that they requested. We've probably gotten to about 500 of those almost 700 requests. So we still have a couple hundred folks that are looking for aid. So
Mhm.
some of that funding is going to go to that. And then we definitely have some bills to pay in terms of HRT that's been provided by our wonderful friends at QueerMed.
Mhm.
I don't know if y'all are familiar. I don't know if QueerMed is in Canada, but I will say for anybody who's in the US, QueerMed offers telehealth services,
Okay.
and they were so great. One of the issues that I had very early on was in trying to help people to navigate HRT access. Um, Before COVID, I could call a pharmacy and say, "Hey, I want to pay this bill for James," and a lot of times they'd say, "No problem." They would take my credit card. I'd pay the thing.
Mhm.
After COVID, they stopped. And there was apparently a lot of fraudulent activity
Mm.
happening. So they even stopped selling gift cards. So because even for a while, I could at least go to CVS and get a gift card and send it to the person and they could go get their HRT. But
Mhm.
then when that stopped working, I had to try to look for other solutions. And I talked to multiple companies. And when I got in touch with QueerMed, I mean, immediately they were like, "We want to help. What do we need to do? Let's
Yeah.
figure this out." And so we built a really cool little partnership where basically folks who come in looking for HRT, they've been able to come to us. We send over some info to QueerMed, and then QueerMed kicks the bill to us, but they provide them with the services that they need. And so the doctor there, Dr. Izzy Lowell, is so amazing. They're even like one of the coolest stories I have heard of was there was somebody who lived in a state where it was illegal and difficult for them to get HRT, and they were
Mhm.
going to a state that was difficult for them to get HRT, but they had a layover in a state where they could have access to HRT, and QueerMed could help. So at 2 o'clock in the morning, the doctor jumps on a call with them so that they could get their damn HRT filled,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of doctor that we have a partnership with that is going
Nice.
to make sure
Uh,
that folks who need this help get that help. So yeah,
So
we want to make sure we're getting QueerMed paid back because we owe them a little bit of money right now.
absolutely. So in Canada,
Mhm.
it varies. The amount of coverage varies province to province. That's same as the states that you have. But generally, gender affirming surgeries are covered by the public health system. Hormone therapy and mental health supports for it are covered by the public health system. So it's not an out of pocket expense necessarily. That's not like universal across every province. There are some things where Ontario covers some gender affirming surgeries, whereas Alberta covers gender affirming surgeries, just like
Okay.
period. It's a matter of did your doctor like start walking you down this path, and is this a thing that you're getting the proper supports for? Versus like there's no private, well, there's no it's illegal in Canada to go to a doctor and say, I have money, can you see me first? Like, it's against our health
Amazing.
act, so it's not a thing. But yeah, a lot of it comes to like provincial benefits and public benefits. And there's some things that we have to rely on, like I get health insurance through work, for things like dental and eye care and things like that. Um, but there's some things that are not necessarily going to be covered, like if you're taking HRT and you have a prescription for it, um, some of that may be covered, but you might have to run some of that through your health benefits through work,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Just like if you have diabetes in Alberta, you still have to pay for insulin,
Okay.
whereas other places in Canada, they're working to, like, insulin. It's not a choice.
Right.
You're taking it or you're not. Um, yeah, there's been legislation pushed forward now to make sure that everybody has insulin for free. Here you go. Like, off you go. So it's coming along. It's getting there. And I mean, we build up
You're
our
light years
communities,
ahead of us.
and we're significantly behind the ball compared to some other countries too,
Yeah.
though,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
all build up our communities, and then we all come together and be like, see, it works here, see, it works
Yes.
there, see, it works there. And all you got to do is, get rid of those greedy folks at the top.
Oh yeah, that sounds wonderful.
I
I
love it.
keep toying around with this idea to create a campaign to send the billionaires on SpaceX to Mars. We can let them go colonize Mars.
I like it.
Yeah,
I'd help
They
fundraise
could
for that.
just have, yeah, they could just
right.
go to Mars.
I mean, why not?
They'd be happy. We'd be happy.
Yes, exactly.
So Jack, this has been a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to one day sitting down and drinking a beer with you in person,
Yes,
gluten free or otherwise, and
yes,
or
Same.
some Dr. Ramshackle's old
No,
fashioned juice that
Jack,
makes.
Jack,
yes.
run. Jack, run. Don't try it. You just run.
I would send you a bottle, but I'm not legally allowed to send it across the border.
No,
I
Um,
no.
know.
trade
I'm like,
trade laws being what they are.
I will go get a damn passport and make the trip for that.
Well,
Uh,
realistically, you
I'll
just
just bring my wife with you.
yeah. Yeah.
I
It-
will.
if you folks find yourselves heading to Canada for whatever reason for a convention, you let me know and we'll make it happen.
Well, I
I'll
will
bring
say,
some spicy sauce.
yeah, that sounds great.
I
Depending
will
on
bring you
the
bread and milk.
nice.
I'll be like, you will need this.
Well, check in with us by the end of the year because you never know. You might be getting some new neighbors come
I love it.
later
Now,
on. But yeah,
but I appreciate your time and taking the opportunity to the majority of folks for Roll for Beer are listening through different podcast mediums. The very rarely is there a live audience to it, even though we record it live, because I'm living for all of the hydrate things that are getting redeemed, and I'm just drinking my beer more and more every time it
I'm
goes.
out. I am out. I am out of my beer.
Sounds like a personal problem.
It's
I've
but-
too
been
good.
filled.
Where if folks want to look up Trans Empowerment Project or yourself on socials and check out some of the awesome programs that you all are running, where can they go to look it up?
Sure. So transempowerment.org is our website. If you're trying to find us on social, we are just look up Trans Empowerment Project. On most things, we're Trans Empowered, Trans Empowerment, or Trans Empowerment Project. That's why I said just look it up. But you can also just go get to all of our socials through our website. And then I'm under Jacktivism 101 on most things.
I love it. I'm looking forward to doing a fair bit more fundraising as the month continues on, and hitting some of those stretch goals and milestone goals. And we already hit $1,700 for our team, which means that Allison gets to role play romance your partner again. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, how's she doing?
She's really looking forward to it. I gotta say, that night I was like, "Damn it! I think I lost my wife to this new community here." So I guess
You know
I
what?
gotta
We
get
love
some-
her, and I am very grateful for your this charity and the Trans Empowerment Project because I got to meet such amazing people during this.
Yeah.
Not just your amazing partner, but also I got to meet more people in the like thirsty lesbians. Yes, I got to meet a bunch of them, but a lot of people joined our Discord, which I get to hear their humor and enjoy just talking to them. I got to watch a lot of streams, which I appreciate as well. Not even from Logomancy, from other streamers who are trying to donate to this project. And it's just it's so cool seeing how many communities stretched out from countries just coming together for this.
I mean, it's amazing. And honestly, especially, you were talking about where do we start out? Thinking about from where we were and where I was to where we are now and the things that we've been able to accomplish. I mean, most of our funding has come from streams and streamers. And without this community showing up in the ways that y'all have, most of the folks that we've helped wouldn't have received the help that they did. So, I mean, I'm so grateful for everybody who tunes into these streams, for everybody who shows up, who leads these streams. I mean, it's such a game changer for us, for the community, and just I think for everybody involved. We end up vibing so much. And, I love hearing exactly what you said, Allison, like hearing that more people are making connections because of the things that they're doing, with and for TEP. That's what it's about for me, is building this community and really making sure that all of us are getting the chance to just hang out and have a good time and have a beer or, play a couple of games together, but just being able to be in community and, relax and just enjoy our lives. We've got a little bit of time on this planet, so we might as well make the most of it. And I feel like these are the spaces to do it in. So cheers to both of you.
Cheers to you,
Cheers
Jack.
to you.
We're here
Thanks.
anyways. We might as well be living the dream.
There we go. Hey, to living the dream.
To living the
I'll
dream. I got
drink
another
twice for
drink.
you,
So.
Allison.
Thank you. I'm like, living
Allison,
the dream.
you're not completely out of.
Fuck off.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Please go and check out all of the Trans Empowerment Project online. I'm not your real dad. You can Google this yourself. And thank you, Jack, for coming and taking the time to sit down, and for Heather contributing in a bunch of Thirsty Sword lesbian shenanigans. That's been a hoot. And due to the milestone goals that were hit, we get to borrow Heather for like 2 more games. That's going to be a good time.
That's awesome.
We shall steal her and never give her back. She's
one
one of us now.
I know she is. You have no idea. You all have definitely got yourself a new friend, a new partner in the games and the crimes and all the good fun.
We've created a monster.
You have.
That said, for those that are waiting for the high quality edit version of this, it should be up on Spotify and where all fine podcasts are consumed, except for Apple Podcasts, because you know what you did. And thanks everybody for stopping by. Thanks to the audience for kicking in a bunch of hydrates tonight. And good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.